These three habits that we're going to go over are terrible habits that you need to cut out right away. So we'll begin with the first one. We got being fearful. Now, this was something that I always struggled with as a kid. I don't know why it was like this. I think I was always just embarrassed of getting embarrassed. But like, I never did anything competitive. I never really raced kids. Never really like played competitive like sports during recess or whatever. I'd always just try to be in a game where it's like either everyone loses or like everyone wins. And it sounds kind of pathetic now, but like I don't know why I was like that so much growing up, but that's just like who I was. It was in my nature. I was just a very fearful person. I was always scared of getting embarrassed. I was always scared of messing up. I was always scared of what other people would think about me, and that carried on when I grew up a little bit more. And even when I started to create this channel, when I created other projects in the past, I was always worried about like, oh, what will people think of me? Will, if any of my classmates find out, are they gonna like think I'm weird for it? All this stuff. I was always just a very fearful person, but I sort of began to realize that you need to you need to sacrifice something. Excuse me. You need to sacrifice something in order to get something, and that's sort of where I realized that like, if I didn't take any risks, if I actually listened to my fears, if I always tried to stay sort of in a safe zone where I can't really be weird, I'm not really anything, I kind of just blend into the background, then I would be living a life that's a shell of who I actually want to be, as opposed to just saying, okay, maybe a few people might find this weird, maybe a few people might think I'm crazy, but honestly, I didn't really care what they had to think in the first place. I never really cared if they would think that I was weird. And frankly, they're going to think I'm weird for about 10 minutes and then they're going to completely go on with their life. They'll still treat me the same way. Like they're going to just be like, "Oh yeah, that's a pretty funny thing you did." And then they'll just go on with their life. Like they don't care. They don't actually care. It's just that my mind played it up so much. I don't know if maybe it was just me that I was the one, like I was that one guy that just like remembered everyone's embarrassing moment, and then I thought everyone was like that for me. I don't know what it was, but I was just always just terrified of being competitive, losing. Losing was like the worst thing possible for me, and so in that regard, I always just avoided competition. I was just a very fearful person. I was always scared to like really step out into unknown territory, step out into like things that could have been risky, things that could have made me look weird, things I could have failed at, things that I could have been really bad at. And I was always just terrified of those things. Go back to the example I gave, sort of just like realizing that not taking any risks, not being scared, not being fearful, and not embracing those things, that you'll become a shell of a man. And with that, I want to I want to give a little physics example because, me personally, big scholar. So you got an object, right? It's on a surface. You apply a little bit of force to it. Let's say there's no friction. You apply a little bit of force to it, you're going to get a little bit of acceleration. If you apply more force, you're going to get a lot more acceleration. And it's a very simple example. It's kind of a stupid example, but it makes sense. You have to give more to get more. You give more force, you'll get more acceleration. And so I apply that sort of into my life a bit more, and I realized like, okay, how much sacrifice am I putting into a certain endeavor of mine? And if it requires me to literally change nothing, as in no one knows, I don't really have to do much. If it's one of those things, then I realize that I may not get that much out of it. Now, obviously, there's some exceptions to that. Just because people don't see it doesn't mean that you're not doing it yourself. But I'm considering more so like this whole YouTube, and it's like I'm putting in all this time in my summertime. I'm putting in like the possible embarrassment of being found or whatever, and it's like at least I'm living how I want to live. I'm living true to myself. This is what I truly feel as is my calling. And if people find that weird, then it's like, okay, so be it. Like I've sort of learned to embrace the fact that not everyone's on your side. Not everyone's just always just going to be there for you. And that there's a big part of fear, of being fearful, that is just going to hold you back. It's just going to make you a shell of who you are. And it's just going to make you feel as though you could have been much more. Like, imagine being there on your deathbed and just thinking, I could have been so much more, but I was too worried about what other people felt. And now there's literally nothing I can do about it. Frankly, it's just something I don't want to think. That's something I don't want to imagine being my reality. And so I make it my mission to sort of try and embrace my fears. If I'm scared to do something, I just sort of just run out and do it anyways. You just gotta go. You just gotta go. Foot on the gas, you just gotta go. I want to talk about complacency. And complacency and being fearful, there's sort of a little bit of overlap in that you want to stay where you are. You don't really want to do more. You don't really want to be more uncomfortable. But I feel like with complacency, there's more of a sense of like pride with it. There's more of a sense of, okay, I've done this much work to get here so far, and so I can kind of just stop, or I don't have to work as hard because I've already beat, like if you're here, you've already beat this many, like you've already beat these people. Everyone's below you, and so now you think, oh, okay, I can just stop. I can just chill out now. That's flawed thinking, because you have to have you have ambition. You don't. It's not that you have to. You have ambition. Everyone has a little bit of ambition inside of them, and so when you don't actually fully embrace that ambition, and when you don't align your life to furthering, or like to get closer to your goals, to get closer to those dreams and desires that you have, and you just clock out when you're like 30% there, 40% there, because at least you did something. At least you made some sort of progress. You're going to get completely destroyed by everyone else who's just constantly working 24/7, always on it. Like these people, like it's sort of like, I don't know how to I think it's exponential, or I don't know how to describe it, but it's like to beat 50% of people, it's fairly easy. You go to the gym 3 times a day. You might meditate 10 minutes a week. You may read like half a book, and like boom, you're better than 50% of people. You stop wasting so much time on your phone. Like you're better than 50% of people. But then to beat 75%, you're gonna have to step it up a little bit more. You're gonna have to go to the gym 4, 5, 6 times a day. You know, you're gonna have to read a lot more. You're gonna have to meditate a lot more. You're gonna have to do all these other things. And then to get even further, to be 80%, 90%, to beat 99%, it gets so much harder, to the point where every little thing you do, like the fact that you might have skipped a single set in your workout, and that could be the difference when you get to that high of a level. That's like the way you should be thinking. You need to think that everything in your life has a sense of urgency. Everything has a sense of, I need to get on this right now, because if I don't do it, someone else is going to beat me. Someone else is going to get there faster than me. Someone else is going to do it better than I'm doing, and it's going to be all my fault because I decided to just stop when I knew I beat some people, but those people weren't even worth like giving a shit about. Like those people weren't anything. And so now you're going up against real competition, real people that want to take everything from you, and you're just stuck and you're just not doing anything about it. And that's the biggest issue with complacency. And I'm gonna be honest, this was a big problem for me for a long time. That's why I've been going to the gym for what? 4 years, almost 4.5 years. I feel like I've only really made like 2 years of progress. And that's why I tell people, like, they're like, oh, how long have you been going to the gym for? I say 4 years, but I only really count like 2. Because I was so complacent for those 2 years. Honestly, I don't even think I was really trying. I was sort of just going there, just being like, oh, at least I'm working out. But it's like, I could have done so much more had I had my foot on the gas that entire time. And obviously you can't do it all the time. I know there's like things come up, maybe you get sick, you get injured, whatever. But the thing is, mentally you're still there. Mentally you realize, I'm nowhere. I need to keep going. I need to keep going. And obviously there's going to be a little bit of yourself where you realize like, okay, I'm better than like all these people, but I still got room to go. That's the thing. You can recognize that you're better, but you can't allow that to cloud your like every day, like the gust you have every day, like the way you go about things every day. You can't let the fact that you're a little bit better than some people override the fact that you're a lot worse than everyone else, and you need to get on it. You need to get going. A little bit more to what I was saying is that like sacrifice and the sacrifices you make to achieve your dreams, achieve your goals, they have to be progressively overloaded. You need to be doing a little bit more every single time to make the same progress that you did back then. Like when you first go to the gym, you can go to the gym for like 4 or 5 months and you see amazing progress. But after you've been going for like a year or 2 years, you need to start working much harder. You need to start watching your diet extremely closely. You need to start watching your sleep extremely closely. You need to start working out much harder than you usually do, just because you've made so much progress already. But in order to make more, you can't just keep doing what you've already been doing. Doing the same thing that you've already done, expecting different results, that's not going to work. You have to do a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. It's back to that example I gave about the force and the acceleration. You have to give more force to get more acceleration. You have to give more to get more. The last one is sort of not seeking criticism or actively avoiding criticism. This habit is a habit that I would say I was pretty big on growing up, and that's probably why I wasn't very competitive. That probably was why I was very fearful. It's just that I didn't want to be criticized because I always saw it as an attack on who I am. And that's the biggest mistake with criticism and seeking criticism or avoiding criticism, is that you look at it as an attack on yourself. It is not you, it is your actions. That is that is what is being criticized, not you as a person. People don't criticize you as a person unless they're just stupid or malicious. Like, they're gonna criticize your actions. That is who people mostly criticize, or that is what people mostly criticize. And so if you can sort of create this disattachment from you and your actions in this context, then you will be much better off than the person who gets criticized and just thinks of it as an attack on themselves and then never does that thing again. That's what you can't do. You have to recognize that the criticism that you might receive from people is not an attack on you and your character. It's an attack on or it's not even an attack. It's just advice for what you could be doing to improve yourself, to improve what it is that you want to do, improve any sort of path that you want to go down. That's where it comes in to have a good group of friends, solid group of friends, in which you're all trying to one-up each other. Not in like a malicious or sadistic way, just like you're trying to compete with each other, like how people do. And you're trying to compete with each other, you're trying to one-up each other, but you're also trying to bring each other up. You're trying to be like, hey man, that thing you did yesterday, that's like, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of saw you as like a loser for that. Like, honestly, that was pretty weak. Like that, like what you did, I can't let that. No, that's not cool, man. And so like stuff like that type of criticism, saying like I can't even think. What is it like? You didn't come with us to work out yesterday. You've been skipping a few workouts this week. Is that like, are you okay? Like, what's wrong? Like, why have you been doing that? Honestly, you're kind of slack and you've been falling off a little bit. You need to get back into it. Like that motivation and just that sort of calling to be better. That is what is important from receiving criticism, from receiving like advice on what you could be doing. Like if you're in a sport and you keep messing up this one part and then your coach tells you what you need to fix, don't look at it as like your coach is trying to attack you. Your coach is trying to help you. Your coach is not saying that, oh, you're a bad player. Just saying, you're making this one mistake, here's how we can fix it. That is what good criticism is. That is how you should look at criticism. Also very important with criticism is that it allows you to sort of see where your faults are without your ego and without your personal biases clouding the objective truth. And which is really important, because you can be putting in all the work that you're putting in and you might think that, oh, I'm doing a great job, I'm doing everything that I can do. But the truth is that to someone else who can see what you've actually done, see the product and not the input, they can say, okay, you need to change this, maybe start doing this or that. And that's where criticism is very important. So that's been it for today's video. Sort of just like a rapid fire top three habits that you need to stop. And honestly, I think these are habits that still I'm working on, I'm learning about, but I think I've done a pretty good job at changing all of them and becoming better, just becoming a better person. So honestly, I hope you guys found value in this video. If you found value, go ahead, subscribe and share this with someone, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.